The mess hall went completely silent. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Every fork froze halfway to mouths. 300 pairs of eyes turned toward the entrance, and what they saw made no sense at all. Lieutenant Hana walked through the doorway like it was any other day. She wore her standard-issue uniform, her black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She carried a food tray in one hand. Nothing unusual about that. What made everyone stop breathing were the three creatures walking behind her. They were each the size of a large wolf, moving on 4 powerful legs. Black scales covered their bodies, gleaming under the station lights. Patterns glowed softly along their sides, shifting colors from blue to purple to green. Their heads were angular and intelligent, with eyes that burned like liquid amber. When they opened their mouths slightly, rows of crystal-clear teeth caught the light. Velcrin, Death-World predators, the kind of creature that made even the galaxy's toughest warriors nervous. The cubs followed Hana to the food line. The serving staff backed away slowly, their faces pale. One of the cooks, a 4-armed Relian, actually dropped a ladle. It clattered against the floor, the only sound in the entire room. Hana smiled politely. "Could I get the rice bowl, please? And do you have any of that grilled chicken left?" Nobody moved. The largest cub, the one with silver markings along its spine, sat down beside Hana. It tilted its head, watching the frozen cook with curious eyes. The second cub, smaller with golden patterns, sniffed the air and made a soft chirping sound. The third, the smallest, with cloud-white swirls across its scales, looked around the room with what might have been confusion. "Hello?" Hana tried again. "Just the rice bowl is fine if the chicken's gone." The sound of weapons being drawn echoed through the mess hall. Station security poured in through 3 different doors. Plasma rifles raised. Red targeting beams painted dots across the cubs and across Hana herself. Nobody move. The security chief, a massive Kralix with gray skin and tusks, shouted the command. "Lieutenant, step away from those creatures immediately." Hana sighed. She set her tray down on the counter. "Chief Valorx, these are juveniles. They're not dangerous." "Not dangerous?" Valorx's voice rose in pitch. "Those are Velcrin, Class 5 predators. They're banned from every station in the Coalition." The cubs pressed closer to Hana. The largest one made a low rumbling sound, not quite a growl but a warning. The golden one's patterns glowed brighter. The small one tucked itself partially behind Hana's legs. "They're scared," Hana said calmly. "You're scaring them. Please lower your weapons." "Scaring them?" A blue-skinned diplomat nearby found her voice. "They should be contained." "They should be—" "They're my crew," Hana interrupted. She reached down and placed her hand on the largest cub's head. Its scales were warm under her palm. "They've been with me for 6 months. We survived together." The mess hall doors opened again. This time Captain Taman strode in. He was a tall man with short gray hair and a mechanical arm that whirred softly as he moved. His face was hard, lined with old scars. He took one look at the scene and closed his eyes briefly. "Stand down," he ordered the security team. "Sir, protocol demands." "I said stand down, Chief." Taman's voice carried authority that came from 30 years in space. "Everyone except station security, clear this room, now." The mess hall emptied quickly. People grabbed their trays and hurried out, stealing glances at the cubs as they left. Within 2 minutes, only Hana, the 3 Velcrin, the security team, and Captain Taman remained. Taman walked closer, his boots clicking against the floor. The cubs watched him approach. The largest one stood, placing itself between Taman and Hana. "At ease, Lieutenant," Taman said. "Want to tell me why you brought 3 Class 5 predators onto my station without clearance?" Hana met his eyes steadily. "My research ship crashed on Velcris Prime. The distress beacon was damaged. It took 6 months for rescue to arrive. I read the report. It said you survived alone in a shelter. I lied in the report." Hana knelt down and all 3 cubs immediately moved closer to her. "I didn't survive alone. I survived because of them. Because their mother decided I was worth protecting." Taman's expression didn't change, but his mechanical hand clenched slightly. "Their mother?" "She was dying when I found her. Some kind of disease. The cubs were too young to survive on their own." Hana's voice remained steady, but something in her eyes suggested old pain. "She brought me to her den. She taught me how to find food, how to move through their territory without attracting other predators. She kept me alive for 3 months before the disease took her." The small cub made a sad whistling sound. It pressed its head against Hana's shoulder. "When she died," Hana continued, "the cubs stayed with me. We became a pack. They protected me from things that would have killed me a dozen times over. I protected them from scavengers in the cold season. We survived together. Taman was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the security team kept their weapons ready, but no longer aimed directly at the cubs. You know what the council will say. Taman finally spoke. Velkrin killed 47 colonists on Heron Station 20 years ago. Adult Velkrin can tear through combat armor like paper. These cubs will grow up. They're sapient, Hana said firmly. They understand language. They solve problems. They feel emotions. They mourn. They're not mindless killers. Can you prove that? Give me time. Give me a chance to show the council what they really are. Taman studied her face, then looked at the three cubs. The largest one met his gaze without flinching. Intelligence burned in those amber eyes, along with something else. Protectiveness, maybe. Loyalty. You have 48 hours, Taman said. After that, the council votes on what happens to them. And Lieutenant? He turned to leave. I hope you're right about them. Because if you're wrong, it won't just be them who pays the price. As Taman and the security team filed out, Hana finally relaxed slightly. She looked down at the three cubs. Come on, she said softly. Let's get you something to eat. We've got work to do. The cubs followed her to the food line. This time, a different cook nervously prepared 4 meals. Hana took the trays to a corner table. She sat down and the cubs settled around her close enough to touch. In the hallway outside, station residents pressed against the windows, staring. Some looked frightened. Some looked disgusted. A few looked curious. Hana ignored them all. She broke apart some of the grilled chicken and held pieces out. The cubs took them gently from her fingers, careful not to nick her skin with their crystal teeth. Ari, she said to the largest one. Bomb, to the golden one. Cloud, to the smallest. Each cub perked up at their name. We'll show them, Hana murmured. We'll show them all what you really are. The cubs ate their food, and for a few minutes they were just a woman and 3 strange creatures sharing a meal. But outside in the corridors, the station was already buzzing with rumors and fear. The clock on the wall counted down the first minutes of their 48 hours. The council chamber was cold. At least that was how it felt to Ari. The largest of the 3 cubs sat perfectly still beside Hana's chair, but every nerve in his body told him this place was wrong. Too many strange smells, too many eyes watching with fear and hate mixed together. The air tasted like metal and something sharp that made his nose itch. Hana's hand rested on his head. Her fingers were warm. Her heartbeat was steady. She was not afraid, so he would not be afraid either. The council recognizes Lieutenant Hana. A voice echoed through the chamber. The speaker was a tall creature with too many legs and eyes like black mirrors. Ambassador Velshara. Ari had learned to recognize her scent. She smelled like old flowers and something bitter underneath. Hana stood. Thank you, Ambassador. I've prepared a demonstration. She walked to the center of the room. Ari followed without being told. So did Bomb and Cloud. They always stayed close to Hana in strange places. It was pack instinct. It was survival. This is Ari, Hana gestured to him. Watch carefully. She pulled out a small device and tapped it. Holographic images appeared in the air. Shapes and symbols that Ari had seen many times during their practice sessions. He understood what she wanted. Hana pointed to a blue circle. Ari, which shape matches? Ari studied the floating images. There were many shapes, squares, triangles, circles of different colors, but only one was the same as the blue circle. He reached up with his front paw and touched the matching shape. The hologram chimed softly. Murmurs rippled through the council chamber. Again, Hana said. This time she showed a complex pattern. 3 shapes in a sequence. Ari needed to identify what came next in the pattern. He looked at the options, thinking. The pattern repeated colors but changed shapes. So the next one should be there. He touched it. Another chime. This proves nothing, Ambassador Velshara said coldly. Many animals can be trained to recognize patterns. Then let's try something different, Hana replied. She spoke in Galactic Standard, the language used across all the stations. Ari, go to Dr. Minho. Ari understood. He had heard those words before. Dr. Minho was the human male who smelled like medicine and cleaned things. He was kind. Ari liked him. But where was he? Ari scanned the room. There were dozens of creatures sitting in the council seats. Finally, he spotted the familiar face. Dr. Minho sat 3 rows up on the left side. Ari walked through the council chamber, climbed the steps, and sat down beside him. Minho smiled and patted his head. Good boy. The council members were very quiet now. He understands language, Hana said. Not just commands. He understands concepts, names, locations. He can follow complex instructions. What about the others? Someone asked. Baum perked up at the attention. His golden patterns brightened slightly. He loved attention. Cloud pressed closer to Hana's legs, nervous. Cloud was always the nervous one. Baum is our curious explorer, Hana said. He investigates everything. Yesterday he noticed something wrong in the hydroponics bay. That had been interesting, Baum remembered. He had smelled something strange while walking past the big room full of growing plants. Death smell, rot smell, plants dying when they should be living. He had pushed through the doors to investigate, and all the workers had screamed and run away. But then the plant keeper had noticed what Baum was showing her. A whole section of plants covered in fuzzy growth, sickness spreading. She had called it crop disease and thanked Hana later for catching it early. Cloud is the smallest, Hana continued. But she's incredibly observant. She notices things others miss. Cloud made a soft chirping sound. She did not like being discussed, but she trusted Hana, always trusted Hana. For the next hour, Hana demonstrated many things. She showed how the cubs could solve puzzles, how they understood cause and effect, how they recognized different people and responded to their names. She showed old video files from her time on Velcris Prime. In the videos, the cubs were much smaller, baby versions of themselves. The footage showed them learning to hunt, playing together, sleeping in a pile with Hana in the middle. One video showed their mother, a massive Velcrin with battle scars and wise eyes. She watched Hana teaching the cubs to build a fire, and she did not attack. She accepted. The matriarch marked me. Hana pulled up her sleeve. Her arm showed scars that glowed faintly. The same bioluminescent patterns that covered Velcrin scales. This is pack marking. It means acceptance. It means family. Ari remembered his mother. The memory was old and fuzzy now, but he remembered her warmth and her strength. He remembered the day she stopped moving. The day the light faded from her eyes. Hana had been crying. Ari had not understood crying then, but he understood sadness. They had all been sad together. After that, Hana was mother. Hana was pack. Hana was everything. The council asked many questions. Some seemed interested. Others seemed angry. Ambassador Velshara's scent grew more bitter as the demonstration continued. Finally, the session ended. Hana collected her cubs and left the chamber. They walked through corridors where other station residents pressed themselves against walls, trying to stay as far away as possible. Some pointed. Some whispered. Some just stared. Hana led them back to their quarters. The room had been modified with sleeping platforms and scratching posts. There were puzzle toys scattered around. It was not home. Not like the caves on Velcris Prime. But it was safe and warm and smelled like Hana. You all did so well, Hana said, sitting down on her bed. The cubs immediately climbed up around her. This was their favorite time. After the fear and the stress, just quiet time together. Baum rested his head on her lap. Cloud curled against her side. Harry lay at her feet, facing the door. Always watching. Always protecting. I know this is hard, Hana murmured, stroking Baum's scales. I know you don't understand why everyone's afraid. But we'll show them. We'll prove that you're not monsters. Ari did not fully understand all her words, but he understood her tone. Worried, determined, loving. The door chimed. Dr. Minho entered, carrying a medical scanner and some equipment. Thought I'd check on them, Minho said. Make sure the stress isn't affecting their health. Thank you, Hana smiled. They like you, you know. The feeling's mutual. Minho knelt down near Ari. May I? Ari allowed the examination. The scanner hummed softly as it passed over his body. Minho's hands were gentle and sure. Remarkable, Minho muttered. Their biology is fascinating. These bioluminescent patterns aren't just for show. They're connected to their nervous system. I think they communicate emotional states. They do, Hana confirmed. Watch. She felt worried, and immediately all three cubs' patterns shifted to darker blues and purples. Then she laughed, and the patterns brightened to golds and greens. They're empathic, Minho breathed. They can sense emotions. It's how they survived as a pack on a death world. They need to know when their pack members are in danger, when they're hurt, when they need help. Minho examined each cub carefully. Baum tried to investigate the medical scanner. nearly knocking it from Minho's hands. Cloud was shy but allowed the checkup. Ari sat perfectly still, patient. They're healthy, Minho declared. But Hana, I heard rumors. There's a group petitioning to have them removed. They want the cubs sent to a research facility. Hana's scent changed. Sharp, angry. All 3 cubs immediately went on alert. Over my dead body, Hana said quietly. I'm on your side, Minho assured her. I'm documenting everything. Their intelligence, their emotional capacity, their bond with you. It's all evidence. After Minho left, Hana dimmed the lights. The cubs settled down for sleep. But Ari stayed awake longer, listening to the sounds of the station, strange mechanical hums, distant voices, footsteps in corridors. He thought about the people who feared them, about the eyes full of hate in the council chamber, about the weapons that had been pointed at them in the mess hall. Ari did not understand why people could not see what was obvious. He and his siblings were not killers. They were family. They were pack. But if those people tried to take him or Bomb or Cloud away from Hana, if they tried to hurt their pack mother, then Ari would show them what a real predator could do. For now, though, he rested his head on his paws and listened to Hana's steady breathing. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears to face, but they would face them together, always together. That was what pack meant. The alarm shrieked through the station at 300 hours. Red emergency lights flooded the corridors. Hana jerked awake instantly, years of training kicking in. The cubs were already on their feet, patterns flashing bright orange. Danger colors. All personnel, this is not a drill. Captain Taman's voice crackled over the station-wide communication system. We are under attack. Pirates have breached the outer hull. Proceed to evacuation points immediately. Hana grabbed her emergency kit and threw on her jacket. Stay close, she commanded the cubs. They pressed against her legs as she opened the door. The corridor outside was chaos. People ran in every direction, some carrying children, others helping injured station mates. An explosion somewhere deep in the station made the walls shake. Dust fell from the ceiling, this way. A security officer waved people toward the nearest evacuation point. Lower levels are compromised. Everyone to the upper decks. Hana followed the crowd, the cubs moving with her. They were incredibly graceful even in the panic, avoiding trampling anyone despite their size. But then the crowd split at an intersection. Half the people went left toward the main evacuation point. The other half, including Hana, got pushed right. Wait, someone shouted. That's the wrong way. That leads to the lower decks, too late. A bulkhead door slammed shut behind them, an automatic safety protocol. The group was cut off from the main evacuation route. There were about 20 people trapped in this section. Hana saw Dr. Minho among them, helping an injured Relian walk. There were also 3 children, 2 human kids and 1 young Kralix, all crying in fear. Everyone stay calm, Hana said, taking charge. There's an auxiliary evacuation point 2 levels down. We can reach it through the maintenance corridors. 2 levels down? An older man shook his head. That's where the pirates are. Another explosion rocked the station. Closer this time. The lights flickered. Ari growled, a deep sound that made everyone freeze. His patterns shifted to deep red. Bomb and Cloud flanked him, their own patterns matching. All 3 cubs faced the corridor ahead, bodies tense. They sensed something, Hana said quietly. She pulled out her sidearm, checking the charge. Everyone behind me. Move quietly. They crept forward through darkened hallways. Emergency lighting cast everything in shades of red. The cubs led the way, their senses far sharper than any humans. Twice, Ari stopped the group, warning them to wait. Both times, they heard pirates moving through nearby corridors. The pirates were Vrex mercenaries known for their brutality. Through door windows, Hana could see them ransacking the station, loading stolen equipment onto gravity sleds. They were armed with military-grade weapons far beyond what station security expected. The auxiliary evacuation point is just ahead, Minho whispered, pointing to a door at the end of the corridor. Once we're through there, we're safe. But as they approached, 4 pirates rounded the corner ahead of them. The mercenaries' eyes widened at the sight of the group. Then cruel smiles spread across their faces. Well, well. The lead pirate raised his weapon. More hostages. The boss will be pleased. The children whimpered. The injured Relian could barely stand. There was nowhere to run. The pirates advanced. That was their mistake. Ari moved first. He was a black blur in the red emergency lighting, faster than Hana had ever seen him move. He hit the lead pirate like a missile, his weight and momentum knocking the mercenary flat. The pirate's weapon skittered across the floor. Bomb went low, sliding under the second pirate's weapon and knocking his legs out from under him. Cloud, the smallest and fastest, climbed the wall using her claws and dropped onto the third pirate from above. The fourth pirate managed to fire his weapon. The energy blast scorched the wall inches from Hana's head. She returned fire, her shot catching him in the shoulder. He went down. It was over in seconds. The cubs stood over the unconscious pirates, patterns blazing bright red, teeth bared. They looked absolutely terrifying. But not one pirate was dead. The cubs had disabled them without killing. Go, Hana urged the group. Now! They ran for the evacuation point. Minho herded the children through the door while others helped the injured. Hana covered their retreat with her weapon ready. More pirates appeared, drawn by the sounds of fighting. There were at least 8 of them, maybe more. Ari made a sound Hana had never heard before, a complex series of chirps, growls, and whistles. Bomb and Cloud responded immediately, each moving to different positions. They were coordinating, hunting as a pack. What followed was like watching a carefully choreographed dance. The cubs used the corridor's layout to their advantage, using corners and doorways for cover. They herded the pirates, confused them, separated them from each other. Cloud darted through a ventilation shaft, appearing behind the pirates and forcing them forward. Bomb used his strength to topple a storage container, creating a barrier. Ari coordinated everything, his vocalizations directing his siblings with precision. Hana fought alongside them, trusting them completely. When Ari growled twice, she knew to duck. When Cloud chirped, she knew to move left. They operated as one unit, predator and human, moving in perfect synchronization. The pirates never stood a chance. Within minutes, they were disarmed and subdued. Not killed, just defeated. Everyone's through, Minho shouted from the evacuation point. Come on! Hana and the cubs raced through the door. It sealed behind them just as more pirates arrived in the corridor. They were safe. The evacuation point was crowded with frightened station residents. When they saw Hana and the cubs, many gasped and backed away. But Ambassador Velshara was there too, her compound eyes fixed on the 3 Velkrin. They saved us, one of the human children said loudly. The cubs saved us from the bad people. The child's mother held her tight but nodded. It's true. Those creatures protected us. Velshara said nothing, but something in her expression shifted. Captain Taman's voice came over the communication system again. All clear. Station security has repelled the pirates. I repeat, all clear, the crisis was over. But something had changed. Over the next hour, as people were processed and checked for injuries, word spread about what happened in the lower decks. The cubs who had saved 47 lives. The predators who had fought to protect, not to kill. Dr. Minho examined each cub carefully. Cloud had a minor injury on her shoulder where a pirate's weapon had grazed her. She had taken that injury while pushing one of Velshara's aides out of the line of fire. You're incredibly brave, Minho told Cloud, treating her wound gently. She chirped softly, pressing her head against his chest. Station security reviewed the footage from the corridor cameras. The videos showed everything. The cubs' coordination, their intelligence, their restraint. They could have torn the pirates apart, but they chose not to. They had disabled threats while minimizing harm. Captain Taman found Hana in the medical bay where she was getting a minor burn treated. The council was supposed to vote tomorrow, he said quietly. On what to do with your cubs. I know. The vote's been moved up. They're meeting in an hour. He paused. The security footage is being sent to them now. Hana looked at where the 3 cubs lay together on a medical bed, exhausted from the fight. Cloud was curled between her brothers, their patterns pulsing in gentle, sleepy colors. Whatever they decide, Hana said softly. These 3 are heroes. They proved what they really are tonight. Taman nodded slowly. Yes, they did. He turned to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth, Lieutenant, I was wrong about them. I'm glad you brought them aboard. As he walked away, Hana went to sit with her cubs. They immediately made room for her, pressing close. Ari's head rested on her lap. Bomb's tail curled around her ankle. Cloud nuzzled her hand. Good pack, Hana whispered, using the phrase she had learned from their mother. Good, brave pack. They had fought together. They had survived together. They had saved lives together. Now they would face the council's judgment together. Whatever came next, they would be ready. The cubs' patterns slowly synchronized, pulsing in calm blue waves. In this moment, despite everything, they were at peace. They were together. They were home. And for the first time since arriving at the station, Hana believed they might actually have a chance. The message arrived 3 days after the pirate attack. Captain Taman delivered it personally to Hana's quarters. His face was grim. "Earth Command has taken an interest in your cubs," he said, handing her a data pad. "They want you reassigned." Hana read the orders, her heart sinking with each line. Deep space exploration mission. 2-year deployment. Destination, the frontier territories beyond mapped space. No stations, no settlements, just endless empty space and a small crew. "They're separating us," she said quietly. "The cubs can't go," Taman confirmed. "The ship's not equipped for them, and Earth Command wants them studied here, under controlled conditions. They're calling it the Human Velcrin Integration Program." The cubs sensed Hana's distress immediately. Their patterns shifted to worried purples and blues. Ari pressed against her leg. Bomb made a questioning chirp. Cloud whimpered softly. "I can refuse the assignment," Hana said. "Then you'll be discharged from service. No position, no quarters, no way to stay on the station." Taman's voice was gentle but firm. "And the cubs will still be taken for study, at least if you accept you have some say in how the program runs." After Taman left, Hana sat on the floor with the cubs. They crowded around her, sensing something was wrong but not understanding what. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. Ari looked at her with those intelligent amber eyes. He understood more than people thought. He always did. The next day, Dr. Minho arrived with troubling news of his own. "I've been studying the cubs' development," he explained, pulling up holographic displays. "They're entering a crucial growth phase. In the next 6 months, they'll triple in size. Their bodies will need specific environmental conditions, temperature, ranges, mineral content in their food. Even the air pressure matters." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the station environment isn't ideal for them. It's not bad, but it's not optimal either." Minho hesitated. "Velcris Prime would be better for their development, their natural habitat." Hana felt something break inside her chest. "You think I should send them back?" "I think you should have all the information." Minho sat beside her. "Whatever you decide, it should be based on what's best for them, not just what you want." That afternoon, Soman visited. The engineer had become a good friend over the past weeks. Cloud had taken a particular liking to her, often following her during station repairs. "I found something you need to see," Soman said, opening a secure file on her datapad. "Remember the story about Velcrin attacking that mining colony? The incident that made everyone fear them?" "Of course, 47 colonists died. I did some digging in old records. The colony was built on Velcris nesting grounds. And there's more." Soman's face was angry. "The colonists were poaching Velcrin eggs, selling them on the black market. The Velcrin didn't attack unprovoked. They were defending their children." The information hit Hana hard. The entire galaxy's fear of Velcrin was based on an incomplete story. Based on a lie. "Who else knows this?" she asked. "I'm sending it to Captain Taman and the Council." "But Hana," Soman looked at Cloud, who was sleeping with her head on Soman's lap. "Even with this information, people are still afraid. And there are groups that want to use the cubs. Not protect them, use them." That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She lay, in her bed, staring at the ceiling while the cubs slept in a pile nearby. Their soft breathing was usually comforting. Tonight, it just made her heart ache. The truth was becoming clear. Keeping the cubs meant putting them in danger. Sending them away meant breaking their pack bond. There was no good choice. She got out of bed and went to her computer. Files upon files of research about Velcrin, about pack bonds, about their psychology and development. Then she found it. A single paragraph in an obscure xenobiology journal. It mentioned something called neural link bonding, a rare phenomenon, where Velcrin formed deep connections with trusted beings, sharing sensory information and emotions across distances. Hana's breath caught. The bioluminescent scars on her arm, The mark their mother had given her suddenly made sense. The way she always knew when the cubs were upset or afraid. The way they coordinated so perfectly during the pirate attack. They were linked, neurologically connected. She dove deeper into the research, reading everything she could find. The neural link was real, but it was poorly understood. Only a handful of documented cases existed. The bond allowed pack members to function as one unit, sharing awareness and emotions. It also meant separation would be agonizing for everyone involved, not just emotionally, physically. Breaking a neural link bond could cause psychological trauma, but it also meant something else, something important. The next morning, Hana requested an emergency meeting with the council. Captain Taman, Dr. Minho, Soman, and Ambassador Velshara gathered in a private conference room. "I've discovered something," Hana began. She displayed her research on the holographic projector. "The cubs and I share a neural link bond. It's a rare Velcrin ability. We're neurologically connected." She explained everything. The shared sensory information, the emotional connection, the coordination during crisis situations. "This is why I survived on Velcris Prime," she continued. "Why the matriarch accepted me. Why the cubs and I work so perfectly together. We're not just a pack, we're linked on a fundamental level." Ambassador Velshara leaned forward, her compound eyes glittering. "This could revolutionize interspecies cooperation. If this bond can be replicated, studied, understood." "It also makes them targets," Taman interjected. "There are groups that would kill to weaponize this ability. Which is why we need to protect them," Hana said firmly. "And I have a proposal." She outlined her plan. A new research vessel, specially designed with environments suitable for both humans and Velcrin. A small crew dedicated to studying and facilitating positive human-predator species cooperation. A mission to document other misunderstood species across the galaxy. "The cubs would be safe, protected, and able to develop naturally," Hana explained. "And we could prove that the galaxy's most feared predators can be partners, not threats." "It would be expensive," Velshara noted, "and unprecedented." "So was bringing Velcrin cubs onto a coalition station," Minho pointed out. "Look how that turned out. They saved 47 lives." The room fell silent. Everyone knew he was right. Finally, Ambassador Velshara spoke. "There would be conditions, oversight, regular reports. Any sign of danger, and the program shuts down immediately." "Agreed," Hana said. "And you would command this vessel?" Taman asked. "If approved, with a crew I trust." She looked at Minho and Soman. People who understand what we're trying to achieve. Over the next week, the proposal moved through bureaucratic channels. There were debates, arguments, concerns raised and addressed, but the security footage from the pirate attack kept being referenced. The cubs protecting children, Cloud taking an injury to save someone. Finally, the council voted. The measure passed by a narrow margin. Hana would get her ship. The cubs would stay with her. But there would be restrictions, monitoring, and the ever-present possibility that everything could be taken away. The night the decision was announced, Hana gathered the cubs in their quarters. They sensed her mixed emotions, relief, joy, but also worry and fear. "We get to stay together," she told them. "But it's going to be hard. People will watch us constantly. Any mistake, and we lose everything." Ari rested his massive head on her shoulder. He was growing so fast now, already twice the size he had been when they arrived. Bomb and Cloud pressed close on either side. Through the neural link, Hana felt their emotions. Trust, loyalty, love. They didn't care about the politics or the danger. They only cared about staying with their pack. "Whatever comes," Hana whispered, "we face it together." The cub's patterns pulsed in perfect synchronization with her heartbeat. Gold and green, colors of peace and family. They had fought for this. They had earned this. Now they just had to prove they deserved it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, a new ship, a new mission. But tonight, they were just a pack, just family, and that was enough. 6 weeks later, Hana stood in the shipyard observation deck, watching the final construction on their new vessel. The ship was called the Horizon Walker, a medium-sized exploration craft with specialized living quarters, research laboratories, and environmental systems that could support multiple species types. "She's beautiful," Soman said, standing beside her. The engineer had accepted the position of Chief Systems Officer without hesitation. "She's home," Hana corrected softly. Behind them, the three cubs pressed against the observation window, fascinated by the construction drones swarming around the ship. They were massive now, each the size of a small horse. Their scales had darkened and thickened. Adult teeth had replaced juvenile ones, but their patterns still glowed with curiosity and wonder. Dr. Minho joined them, carrying a datapad. "Final crew manifest is complete. 12 personnel total, 7 humans, 5 aliens from species experienced with predator homeworlds." "And Captain Taman agreed to come?" Hana asked, as tactical advisor. "He says someone needs to keep you out of trouble." Minho smiled, though I think he's just grown fond of the cubs. As if summoned by his words, Taman entered the observation deck. His mechanical arm whirred softly as he saluted. "Lieutenant Hana, your ship is nearly ready. Launch is scheduled for 3 days from now." "Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet." Taman's expression grew serious. "There's been a complication. Ambassador Velshara wants to add one final test before you launch." Hana's stomach tightened. "What kind of test?" "The station's environmental systems are failing in Sector 7. Toxic gas leak from damaged recyclers. There are teams trying to contain it, but it's spreading fast. Standard rescue operations are too slow." "You want us to help," Hana said, understanding immediately. "I want you to prove your coordination abilities one final time. Show the Council that the neural link with the cubs can save lives not just in combat, but in any crisis." Taman paused. "If you succeed, the Council stops watching over your shoulder. You get the freedom to operate without constant oversight." Hana looked at the cubs. Through the neural link, she felt their readiness. They understood danger was coming. They were prepared. "We'll do it." 30 minutes later, Hana and the cubs stood in the staging area outside Sector 7. Emergency crews worked frantically, but the toxic gas was spreading faster than they could contain it. Several workers were trapped inside, cut off by collapsed corridors and poisonous atmosphere. "Standard rescue suits won't work," the rescue coordinator explained. She was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. "The gas eats through the filters. We'd need to modify the equipment, and that takes hours." "Those people don't have hours." Hana studied the sector map on her datapad. Multiple trapped groups. Complex layout. Obstacles everywhere. It would be nearly impossible for a normal rescue team. But they weren't a normal team. "We need respiratory filters," Hana said. "Modified for Velcrin physiology as well as human." Dr. Minho was already ahead of her, working with the engineering team to adapt the equipment. Within 20 minutes, they had functional filters. Not perfect, but good enough for a quick rescue operation. Hana fitted her filter mask and helped secure the cubs' breathing apparatus. They tolerated the equipment patiently, understanding it was necessary. "Remember," she told them quietly, "we work as one. I see through your eyes. You sense through me. We find everyone. We bring them home." The cubs' patterns glowed bright orange. Ready. Determined. They entered Sector 7. The toxic gas created a thick yellow fog that reduced visibility to almost nothing. Normal teams would be nearly blind. But Hana and the cubs were linked. Ari's superior sense of smell cut through the chemical haze. Bomb's acute hearing detected heartbeats and breathing. Cloud's thermal sensing found warm bodies in the cold fog. And through the neural link, Hana processed all of it simultaneously. "First group, 30 meters ahead," she radioed to the rescue coordinator, behind a collapsed bulkhead. 3 people. Ari moved forward, his massive strength clearing debris. Bomb and Cloud provided support, their combined effort opening a path. Hana reached the trapped workers and helped them toward the exit where emergency teams were waiting. Next group. Hana didn't pause. The neural link was like a constantly updating map in her mind. She knew where everyone was. She could feel the cubs' positions, their status, their sensory input. They moved through the sector like ghosts. Ari forced open stuck doors. Bomb navigated through ventilation shafts too small for humans. Cloud used her climbing abilities to reach people trapped on upper levels. They worked with precision that seemed almost choreographed. Because in a way it was. They weren't 4 separate beings doing a task. They were one consciousness in 4 bodies. Outside, Ambassador Velshara watched the rescue operation on monitors. Beside her, other council members observed in silence. Remarkable, one of them murmured. The coordination is perfect. The neural link allows them to function as a single organism, Minho explained. He was monitoring the team's vital signs. But it's more than that. They trust each other completely. That trust is what makes this possible. Inside Sector 7, Hana found the last group. They were in the worst location, deep in the damaged area where the gas was thickest. An elderly Kralix and 2 young assistants, all unconscious from gas exposure. "Cloud, I need you," Hana called through the link. Cloud was the smallest and fastest. She darted through the narrow passages, reaching the victims. But they were too heavy for her to carry alone. Ari and Bomb converged on her position. Together, the cubs formed a living stretcher. Carefully supporting the unconscious people, Hana led them back through the maze of corridors, her filter mask barely keeping the toxic fumes at bay. They were almost to the exit when disaster struck. A support beam cracked overhead. Weakened by the gas, it began to collapse. It would fall directly on the unconscious Kralix. Cloud didn't hesitate. She positioned herself under the beam, her powerful legs absorbing the impact. The metal crushed down on her shoulder, and through the neural link, Hana felt an explosion of pain. But Cloud held. She held while Ari and Bomb rushed the victims to safety. She held while Hana helped secure the last person. Only when everyone was clear did she allow herself to collapse. "Cloud!" Hana rushed to her, joined immediately by her brothers. The smallest cub was badly injured, her shoulder crushed, her breathing labored. Medical teams swarmed in, stabilizing Cloud and rushing her to the station hospital. The rescue operation was over. All trapped workers had been saved, but at a terrible cost. Hana refused to leave Cloud's side during surgery. Ari and Bomb lay on the floor nearby, their patterns dim with worry. Through the neural link, they all shared Cloud's pain. Dr. Minho performed the surgery himself, working for 6 hours to repair the damage. When he finally emerged, his face was exhausted but relieved. "She'll recover. Full recovery, actually. Felcrin healing capacity is incredible." He smiled tiredly. "She's tough. They all are." Ambassador Velshara arrived at the hospital that evening. She found Hana sitting with the cubs in Cloud's recovery room. The smallest cub was sleeping, her shoulder wrapped in bioregenerative bandages. "The individual Cloud saved was my aide," Velshara said quietly. "The elderly Kralix. He has been with me for 20 years. He is important to me." Hana said nothing, just stroked Cloud's head gently. "I was wrong about your cubs," Velshara continued. "I saw monsters where there were only children. I saw danger where there was only love." She paused. "The council has voted. You will have complete operational freedom. No oversight. No restrictions beyond standard safety protocols." "Thank you," Hana said softly. "No. Thank you." Velshara placed one delicate claw on Cloud's undamaged shoulder. "Thank you for showing us what we could not see. Thank you for teaching us that family knows no species boundaries." 3 days later, the Horizon Walker prepared for launch. The shipyard was crowded with well-wishers. Station residents who had once feared the cubs now brought gifts and tokens of good luck. Children wanted to pet the hero cubs. Engineers wanted holographs with them. Cloud, still recovering but mobile, basked in the attention. Bomb investigated every new person with his characteristic curiosity. Ari stayed close to Hana, protective as always. Captain Taman stood at the boarding ramp in his new uniform, tactical advisor insignia gleaming. Dr. Minho loaded the last of his medical supplies. Soman ran final systems checks, ensuring everything was perfect. "Ready?" Taman asked Hana. She looked at her crew, humans and aliens who believed in their mission, who understood what they were trying to achieve. Then she looked at the cubs, her pack, her family. "Ready," she confirmed. They boarded the ship together. As the Horizon Walker lifted off from the station, Hana stood on the bridge, the 3 cubs beside her. Through the viewports, she could see the galaxy stretching out before them. Millions of stars, thousands of worlds, hundreds of species waiting to be understood. There were predators out there that the galaxy feared, species labeled as monsters because of misunderstanding and incomplete information. But Hana had learned the truth. She had lived it. Monsters weren't born. They were created by fear, by isolation, by those end species reported in that region. "Unknown means opportunity," Minho added. "Opportunity to learn, to understand, opportunity to build bridges, Tay."